My name is Rachel Myers, I'm 28, and if you had asked me a month ago what my biggest flaw was, I would have said, giving people too many chances. I didn't realize how dangerous that flaw could become until the night my boyfriend dumped a drink over my head in a restaurant full of people and told me I deserved worse. We'd been together just under 3 years, long enough that our friends joked we were basically married, long enough that my family assumed a proposal was coming soon, and long enough for me to believe I truly knew who he was. His name is Ethan Cole, 31, and when we first met, he seemed like the kind of man who'd never raise his voice at a woman, let alone his hand. He was ambitious, charming, and attentive in a way that made me feel chosen. I mistook that for emotional stability. I didn't know yet that there's a difference between attention and respect. It took me far too long to figure that out. Ethan had always been a little intense, overly sensitive to criticism, overly reactive to small inconveniences, overly controlling about how things should be. But it always started and ended with moodiness, not cruelty. He'd retreat, sulk, or give me the cold shoulder. Nothing physical. Nothing explosive. Until our anniversary. Before that night, the worst thing he'd ever done was sulk for 3 days because I wore a dress he didn't like to a friend's birthday. This was different. This was darker. This was something I would replay over and over in my head later, wondering how many signs I ignored. For weeks leading up to our anniversary, he kept making comments about how important this celebration was. How huge milestones deserve huge gestures. How this is the year everything changes. I didn't know if he meant a proposal. Part of me hoped he did. Part of me dreaded that possibility, because things had been rocky between us. But I told myself that maybe the pressure he'd been feeling lately was temporary. Maybe he'd calm down once his job stabilized. Maybe things would get better. Maybe. We chose to celebrate at Marcellino's, one of the nicest restaurants in Riverton, Illinois. White tablecloths, candlelight, the kind of place you'd go for a birthday, engagement, or anniversary. Not for what happened. That night, I curled my hair, put on a simple navy dress, and wore the necklace he bought me on our first Christmas. I wanted us to have a beautiful evening. I wanted to remember why I fell in love with him in the first place. He picked me up with flowers and kissed me like everything was perfect. For the first 30 minutes, it felt normal. He held my hand across the table. We toasted with wine. We talked about our first date, our favorite trips, all the memories we'd built over the years. But underneath all of that, there was this tension in his jaw, a tightness I'd seen before but never fully understood. I tried to ignore it. The night was supposed to be special. When the waiter came to refill our drinks, Ethan suddenly asked, "So what did you get me?" I blinked. "For our anniversary?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Yeah. What did you get?" I laughed softly. "It's at home. I didn't bring it with me." His smile disappeared instantly. "You forgot." "No," I said calmly. "I didn't forget. I was going to give it to you after dinner." He leaned back, arms crossed. His whole demeanor shifted. "You're lying." My stomach tightened. "I'm not lying." "Rachel, don't start," he said. "You forgot. Just admit it." I shook my head. "Ethan, I didn't forget. Why would I lie about something like that?" He scoffed. "Because you always forget things that matter to me." I felt my face warm. "That's not fair." He narrowed his eyes. "Really? Last month you forgot to pick up my suit from the cleaners. 2 weeks ago you forgot to call the plumber. Last week you forgot to." I set my fork down gently. "Can we not turn tonight into a list of every mistake I've ever made?" He glared at me. "You forgot our anniversary gift." I didn't. "Yes," he said through clenched teeth, "you did." The couple beside us glanced over. I lowered my voice. "Ethan, please don't do this here." He tapped his fingers aggressively against his glass. "You only care about embarrassment when you're the one being called out." I felt a sharp sting in my chest. Ethan, stop. He ignored me and kept going, voice rising. You don't take me seriously. You don't listen. You don't remember anything I ask. And now you're trying to make me feel crazy because you forgot my gift. I didn't forget. He stared at me like I just insulted him. Then he laughed, a short, cold exhale. Unbelievable, he muttered. The server walked by and asked if everything was all right. Ethan waved him off sharply. We're fine. When the server left, Ethan leaned forward, eyes burning with something I couldn't read. Where's the gift, then? What did you get me? Describe it. The words hit me like a slap. He wasn't asking. He was interrogating. I took a steady breath. Ethan, can we please talk about this later? You're upset, Anne. Later, he hissed. No. You're going to tell me right now. What did you get me? My eyes burned. I didn't want to cry in front of him. I didn't want to cry in a restaurant full of strangers. But his voice was getting louder, sharper, crueler. I swear to God, Rachel, if you tell me you got me something sentimental or thoughtful, I'm walking out. I felt the first tear slip down my cheek. A single tear. Ethan stared at it, like he was offended by it. Oh, don't start, he snapped. Don't you dare start crying. You always do this when you're wrong. Ethan, I whispered, please stop. Answer me, then. You're making a scene. He laughed, loud, bitter, mocking. A scene? You haven't seen anything yet. What does that mean? He picked up his glass. I thought he was about to drink from it. Instead, he leaned across the table, slowly, deliberately, and poured the entire thing over my head. The cold alcohol soaked my hair, dripped down my face, slid over my dress, and pooled in my lap. I gasped. The restaurant went silent. He set the empty glass down with a soft clink, leaned back calmly, and said in a voice so quiet and venomous it made my blood run cold. You deserve worse. And then he smirked. Smirked. While I sat there drenched, stunned, and humiliated in front of dozens of strangers. That is the moment everything inside me broke. Not because of the drink. Not because of the scene. But because I realized I had been in love with a man who was capable of this cruelty all along. And that was only the beginning of what happened next. The restaurant went dead silent. Every fork paused midair. Conversations froze. Chairs stopped scraping. I sat there, motionless, drenched in cold liquid, hair dripping down my face. For a moment I couldn't even react, my body refused to move, like I needed an extra second to register that Ethan had actually done it. He really did it. He poured his drink on me. In public. On our anniversary. And then told me I deserved worse. A woman at the table behind me gasped softly. Someone else muttered, "Oh my God." Ethan leaned back in his chair like he'd just made his point in some petty argument, not humiliated his girlfriend in front of an entire room. His voice was calm, almost eerily flat. Maybe now you'll learn to take things seriously. I swallowed hard, tasting bitterness, not from the drink, but from the realization that the man across from me wasn't who I thought he was. A server rushed over, eyes wide. Ma'am, do you need towels? Ice? Should I call someone? Before I could answer, Ethan cut in sharply. She's fine. We're fine. Stay out of it. The server froze. Then looked at me, not him. Ma'am? Do you want help? I opened my mouth, but my voice collapsed before it came out. Ethan scoffed, reached for his napkin, and tossed it toward me like he was doing me a favor. You're embarrassing yourself, he said coldly. Pull it together. Something inside me snapped then, not loudly, not dramatically, but cleanly, like a tightrope finally giving way after too much strain. This was over. All of it. A couple at a nearby table stood up, visibly uncomfortable. The woman whispered, "Sweetheart, are you okay?" I nodded weakly, though I wasn't. Another server came over with a stack of clean towels and crouched beside me, placing them gently on the table. "I'm so sorry," he murmured. Ethan exhaled sharply. Why is everyone acting like she's a victim? It was just a drink. The entire table behind him audibly gasped. Just a drink? I repeated softly. He shrugged. You pushed me. You always push me. And you never think about how your behavior affects me. I wiped my face with one of the towels, my hands shaking. I wasn't crying anymore. I was past that. Something colder had taken over, clarity, maybe. Or finally seeing him without the excuses I'd been making for years. I stood up slowly. Ethan frowned. Where do you think you're going? I didn't answer right away. I reached down for my purse, feeling the weight of every eye in the restaurant on us. My hands were trembling, but my voice, when it finally came, wasn't. I'm leaving. No, he said immediately, slamming his hand on the table. You're not. A few people flinched. I stared at him. You poured your drink on me. He leaned forward. Because you deserved it. My throat tightened, but not from sadness, from disbelief that I ever mistook this man for a partner. I'm done, I whispered. He laughed. Actually laughed. You're being dramatic. You'll calm down. No, I said again, louder this time. I won't. He rolled his eyes. Sit down. We're finishing dinner. We're not making this a big deal. But it was a big deal. And everyone around us knew it except him. A woman at a nearby table spoke up, voice firm. You need to let her go. Ethan snapped his head toward her. Mind your business. Her husband stood up. She's trying to leave. Let her. Ethan scoffed. This is between us. It has nothing to do with you. The man stepped closer. It does when you're threatening her in public. Ethan got to his feet so fast his chair fell backward. The entire restaurant tensed. Don't touch me, he warned the man, though the man hadn't moved another inch. I stepped between them, not because I wanted to protect Ethan, but because I wanted to stop this before it escalated into something worse. Ethan, sit down, I said quietly. Or don't. But I'm leaving. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Then his voice dropped into something low and venomous. You walk out that door, Rachel, and we're done. The threat actually steadied me. Good, I said. Then we're done. His face contorted into something ugly, twisted with disbelief and anger. You're really doing this? Yes. You think you'll find someone better, he spit out. Silence spread across the room like a wave. I met his eyes. Anyone would be better than the man who humiliated me like this. His jaw clenched so tight I thought he might break a tooth. You won't last a week without me, he hissed. I grabbed my purse off the chair. I lasted my entire life before you, I said. I'll be fine. He took one aggressive step toward me, but the man behind him moved slightly, like he was ready to intervene. Ethan froze. I stepped around him, my clothes still damp, my hands still shaking, my heart racing, but my decision solid, immovable. As I walked toward the exit, I heard him mutter under his breath, loud enough for everyone near him to hear. You're pathetic. I didn't look back. Not once. When I reached the door, the hostess gently offered me her jacket. I accepted it, grateful beyond words. Then I walked out of the restaurant, dripping, humiliated, shaking, but free. What I didn't know yet was that the night wasn't over. There was still more to come. Ethan wasn't done. And neither, apparently, were the people who witnessed everything. The cold night air hit me the second I stepped outside, sharp enough to make me gasp. The restaurant's lights glowed behind me, warming the sidewalk, but I felt exposed, soaked dress clinging to my skin, hair dripping, makeup smudged. I wrapped the hostess's jacket tighter around myself and tried to breathe. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely zip it. I had barely taken 3 steps toward the parking lot when the restaurant door slammed open behind me. Ethan. Of course. He stormed out like he owned the sidewalk, like I had no right to leave without his permission. His footsteps were fast, angry, the kind of pace that made my heartbeat spike. "Rachel," he barked. "Stop." I didn't. I kept walking toward my car, keys already in my hand. "Rachel. Don't walk away from me." His voice was echoing across the parking lot, sharp enough that a couple leaving the restaurant paused to look over. I didn't turn around. "Go home, Ethan." He caught up in seconds, stepping in front of me, forcing me to stop. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he demanded. "Leaving," I said, steadying my breathing. He laughed, loud, mocking. "Because your feelings got hurt?" I stared at him. "You humiliated me." He scoffed. "You humiliated yourself. If you didn't act like a child, none of this would have happened." My hands tightened around my purse strap. "Move." "No." His voice had changed, lower, colder. A tone he'd never used with me outside closed walls. "You think you can just walk out," he said. "You think you can embarrass me in there and then leave like you're some kind of victim?" I blinked. "Ethan, you poured a drink on me. And you deserved it," he snapped. "Maybe if you listened for once in your life." "Ethan, move." "No," he said again, stepping closer, blocking my path completely. "You're not leaving like this." A pit formed in my stomach. His stance wasn't physically aggressive, yet, but he'd positioned himself between me and escape. He was using his body as a barrier the same way he'd used his voice inside, to control. "You need to calm down," I said quietly. "I'm not arguing anymore." "I'm calm," he lied. "You're the one who made a scene. You're the one running away." "I'm trying to get home safely." "Oh please," he snapped. "Spare me the drama. You're not scared of me." The truth. I wasn't scared of him hurting me. I was scared of his rage, of what he might do without thinking, what lines he might cross. "I don't want to talk right now," I said. "You don't want to talk? Too bad," he said, stepping closer again. "You owe me a conversation." "No," I said, voice steady. "I don't owe you anything." That set him off. He slammed his hand against the metal railing beside us, not at me, but close enough that the sound echoed down the sidewalk. I flinched. "Look what you made me do," he spat. I stared at him. "I didn't make you do anything," I said. "You did," he yelled. "You walk away and act like you're some angel and I'm the monster." "You are the monster," someone said behind us. Ethan whipped his head around. The couple who had left the restaurant a minute earlier were still standing near the door. The woman had her arms crossed. The man stepped slightly in front of her. "She's trying to leave," the man said. "Let her." Ethan glared at him. "Mind your damn business." "It became our business when you threw a drink on her," the woman snapped. More people began filing out of the restaurant behind them, some of the same faces who had watched everything unfold inside. One of the servers stepped outside too, still holding the towel he'd offered me. "Is everything all right out here?" "No," the woman said. "He's blocking her from leaving." Ethan turned back to me, eyes narrowed. "Really? You needed backup?" "For what, Rachel?" "Because I'm talking to you." I stepped back, finally seeing a small gap to move around him. "I'm going to my car." Ethan reached out instinctively, not grabbing me, not touching me, but his hand moved toward my arm in a reflex he couldn't stop. I stepped back out of reach. He froze, realizing everyone saw. A man near the door said sharply, "Buddy, that's enough." Ethan's face twisted, humiliation, fury, desperation flickering all at once. You all think I'm some abuser or something? Is that it? Someone whispered, if the shoe fits. Ethan spun back toward me. Rachel, don't do this, he said, voice breaking. Don't make people think I'm a bad guy. You are a bad guy tonight, I said. He looked like I had slapped him. No, he whispered. No, you're not doing this to me. You're not turning people against me. I'm not turning anyone, I said. You did that yourself. His throat tightened. Rachel, get in my car. We're going to talk. No. You're not walking away, he shouted. The server stepped forward. Yes. She is. Ethan's eyes darted around, at the strangers watching, at the employees, at me. He stood there breathing hard, trapped not by force, but by witnesses. You don't understand, he said to me softly, pleading now. You're all I have. Don't leave. I'm not leaving you, I said, I'm leaving this situation. You're lying, he whispered. I shook my head. Go home, Ethan. His jaw clenched. If you walk away, you're choosing to ruin everything. I'm choosing to save myself. He stared at me, eyes wide, furious, wounded, then kicked the side of a planter near the entrance. Dirt spilled onto the sidewalk. The server took another step forward. Sir, you need to leave. Ethan looked at him, then at me, then back at the restaurant. A beat passed. Then another. Finally, he muttered, unbelievable, turned on his heel, and stalked back toward his car. He didn't look back. I didn't move until he pulled out of the parking lot, speeding, tires skidding slightly, headlights cutting through the dark. Only then did my legs give out enough that I had to steady myself on the hood of my car. The woman came closer and placed a hand on my back. Sweetheart, please don't go home with him tonight. I won't, I said quietly. I got into my car, heart pounding, hands trembling. As I closed the door and the silence wrapped around me, something inside me solidified, a cold, powerful certainty. Even if Ethan apologized tomorrow, even if he begged, cried, or blamed stress, there was no coming back from this. He didn't just cross a line. He revealed who he really was. And I finally believed him. I sat in my car for a long time before I could even put the key in the ignition. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My clothes were cold and stuck to my skin. My heartbeat was still too fast, too loud, like my body hadn't caught up to the fact that I was finally safe. Safe from him. Safe from what the night could have become if witnesses hadn't stepped in. Eventually, I started the engine and drove to my sister's apartment across town. I wasn't going home alone. Not after that. I didn't trust the dark. I didn't trust the silence. And, most of all, I didn't trust what Ethan might do next. When I got to my sister's place and she saw me, damp, trembling, mascara stained down my cheeks, she didn't even ask questions. She just pulled me inside, wrapped me in blankets, and sat with me until the shaking stopped. But the night wasn't finished with me yet. My phone buzzed. Then again. And again. I wasn't ready to look. But after the sixth buzz in a row, I knew exactly who it was. Ethan. His text lit up my screen in rapid bursts. Where are you? We need to talk. You left me looking like an idiot. You overreacted. You humiliated me. Pick up your phone. I blocked his number. 2 minutes later, he messaged from another number. Seriously? You're blocking me now? Then another. You didn't have to leave like that. Then another. I only did that because you pushed me. Then. You know I didn't mean it. Stop punishing me. Then, the shift, the one I'd seen before. From anger to desperation. Rachel, please. I'm sorry. Please talk to me. I'm losing my mind. I need you. I need to fix this. I stared at the screen, numb. Not because his words affected me, but because they didn't anymore. I felt nothing but exhaustion. My sister looked over. "You're not responding, right?" "No," I said. "I'm done." And I meant it. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't a message. It was a voicemail. Curiosity made me play it, even though I knew I shouldn't have. His voice came through the speaker, shaky and dramatic. "Rachel, please, please don't give up on us. You know I love you. I messed up, okay? I know I messed up. But you can't just walk away from everything we built. You're my person. I need you. Please call me back. Please, just talk to me." My sister grabbed the phone gently. "Block the new numbers, too." I did. For the first time all night, I exhaled fully, a long breath that felt like it had been trapped in my chest for months, maybe years. I showered at her place, washed the dried wine from my hair, scrubbed the sticky feeling from my skin. When I stepped out and put on clean clothes she lent me, I stared at my reflection. The woman in the mirror looked older than she had hours earlier, but stronger, somehow. Like she had survived something she wasn't going to forget. I slept on my sister's couch, though slept is a generous word. My brain replayed everything, the drink pouring down my face, his words, the look he had when he blocked my path, the sound of him hitting the railing, the way he snarled that I deserved worse. Every replay made me more certain. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was who he was. The next morning, I had dozens more messages. He had emailed me when he realized his new numbers were blocked. The subject lines were all over the place. "Please don't do this. You're being unfair. I love you more than anyone ever could. You abandoned me. Call me or I'll show up." That last line sealed it. I forwarded every message to my sister, then to myself. I saved screenshots. I documented everything. Then I replied with exactly one email. Short. Flat. Final. Ethan. Do not contact me again. If you come to my home, my workplace, or my family's homes, I will call the police. This relationship is over. Rachel. No emotion. No negotiation. No opening for manipulation. He wrote back within minutes. You're going to regret this. I didn't respond. Instead, I called my landlord, changed the code on my building's entrance, and asked a coworker to walk me to my car after work for the next week. I told my boss I needed a few days off for a personal emergency. She didn't ask questions. By the end of the day, Ethan's long, rambling apology emails turned into anger. Then silence. And then, strangely, peace. A week later, I found out through mutual acquaintances that Ethan had told people I caused the breakup, that I was unstable, dramatic, overly emotional, and blew things out of proportion. I didn't bother correcting him. People who matter would know the truth. People who believed him weren't people I needed. It took time, longer than I expected, but eventually the shock faded, then the humiliation faded, then the anger faded. But the clarity stayed. The understanding stayed. The conviction stayed. If someone shows you what they're capable of, believe them the first time. Especially when what they show you is cruelty. And if a man is willing to humiliate you in public, he is capable of far worse in private. Ethan didn't destroy my heart that night. He revealed it. He showed me that I deserved better than him. Better than fear, manipulation, and silence. Better than being treated like an inconvenience one minute and a possession the next. He showed me the truth. And I finally walked away from it.